This is Lindsay McDougall on ABC Illawarra.
Well, that's not every day I get to meet a drug dealer.
I'm not a drug dealer, I'm a distributor.
This is a big decision I have to make.
I said I'm sorry, babe. What more do you want from me?
Go back to your country, you stupid wogs.
This suburb is called Durrock. It's blackfella land.
Hey, little brother. Look at you, eh?
What are you gonna do about it, guys?
Yes, Streets of Colour, a film set in, made in and made by people from Western Sydney. Screenings all over Australia, including recently the Lebanese Film Festival and the Hoyts in Penrith and Mount Druitt. The next one is tomorrow night at the Gala Cinema in Warrawong. There'll be a Q&A afterwards as well. And Ronnie S Riskalla is the Streets of Colour's award-winning screenwriter and director and joins us now. Hello there.
G'day, Lindsay. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Great to have you, especially when you're riding such this wave. Such great reviews, people raving about the film, 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. How has it been? Yes.
Look, it's been a great ride. It's like you said, it's been received quite well, much better than we thought it would be, because it's such a confronting film and it has a lot of strong sort of themes and topics in there. So it's hard to know if people will receive a film like that so well. But we've had such a great reception, and it's been really, really rewarding, I guess.
And it is. I mean, you grew up in Western Sydney, right?
I did. I grew up in Western Sydney, and the story is loosely based on I'm growing up there, and a lot of my experiences and a lot of people that I grew up with too. So, yeah, so it's very personal.
And so what is the pressure then to get it right? Because you're telling a real story. There are real people at least alluded to in it. You don't want to do wrong by these people.
Yeah, well, you have to change names to protect the innocent or the guilty, I guess. Yeah, look, it's really hard. Like I was saying earlier, because it's a personal story, and you know, people start to say, "Oh, are you the main character? Are you this person?" You know, and as a filmmaker, you know, you have creative liberty. You know, you have a license to sort of amp things up and make things a little bit different. And you do have to amalgamate characters together and change names and that sort of thing. So, as much as I say it's loosely based, you know, we did take liberty to give it a little bit of an edge as well. So, you know, but everything you do see in the story does actually happen out in Western Sydney and other, I dare say, other suburbs as well. So it's not just limited to Western Sydney, but you know, it's a personal story, and I wanted to tell a story about a young guy who, you know, like myself, grew up in Western Sydney, coming from an immigrant family, and trying to assimilate and trying to be an Aussie, but also having to embrace your culture or having a culture forced upon you by your parents, and trying to be an Aussie, and what that's like, because you don't really see stories that way.
Please, Tim, don't take my son away from me. I need him. I need my son.
Why you hate to be Arabic so much?
Because I hate the way they look at me.
It's 5 minutes. That's all I want.
That part of the
We'll
film,
have a quick conversation.
I hate the way they look at me. That is, it's really powerful. And is that something that you've taken from your life or from stories that you've heard?
Oh, yes. That's the one line that everybody comes up after the Q&As and after they've seen the film. They go, wow, that line. Or people who have just seen the trailer and haven't seen the film. And I didn't realize, I mean, I knew at the time when I was writing the line, and the line went through a few little changes. You know, I kept rewriting the line because I knew that line was important. And it was always something that was very, very personal. And a lot of people from sort of immigrant families have felt that, like, you know, there's systemic racism, you know, there's racism that's not the full-blown out racism, like you see in the trailer where, you know, you're being called certain names and that sort of stuff. But there's the racism where, yeah, when someone looks at you in a certain way and you know what they're thinking almost, you know. So that line in the trailer, it resonates with so many people. And it's funny that you bring it up, because so many people do bring that up as being such a powerful line. And I guess that's the core of the story, you know, like trying to be somebody, an Aussie, but you don't look like one, but then, you know, you don't like the skin that you live in as well. So it's really sort of tough.
How hard was it to get the casting right for Streets of Colour? Because these people are playing, you know, these really important roles.
It was really difficult, actually. It took 12 months to cast the film. I knew, because, you know, the characters were such strong characters with strong emotions. We had to have the very best in each character, and because they're representing sort of people, you know, that I knew, they had to be quite authentic too. But luckily for me, there was a few people in the film that were from Western Sydney, so they understood the culture and they understood those type of characters. So, you know, after doing some workshopping and talking about the characters, it wasn't too hard for such a talented actor to be able to bring that to the screen. other actors that I had to bring in outside of, say, Western Sydney. It was a little bit more difficult, but once again, once you have a level of talent in an actor, they can just morph into whatever you need them to do, and then it becomes brilliant on screen.
It's when it comes to representing Western Sydney, though, it seems to be so full of that diversity. How many cultural backgrounds are in the cast, do you reckon?
Within the cast and crew, we had over 50 different nationalities working on the film. I wasn't planning to make a diverse film. I was just trying to tell a story where I grew up. And it just happens to be such a culturally rich, diverse area. So it wasn't that I was going out and say, hey, I'm going to make the most multicultural film ever. It was that's just how we grew up. And that's what people want to see on screen. They want to see themselves represented, I guess.
Yeah, one of the reviews was a stunning depiction of an Australia not frequently seen on screen. Now, when I was a kid, Mount Druitt was where the water slides were. Like that's all I knew about.
Mount Druitt Waterworks. Yeah. You remember that?
Yeah, that's where so. And then I know since then there's been things like Cedar Boys and the combination, and more recently here out west, although that was more southwest, I suppose. Yeah,
sort of, yeah.
But seeing where you were, like, what do you think it means for people seeing where they grew up portrayed in a film which is as entertaining as it is real and authentic and traumatic?
Well, I think it's challenging because some people will say, hey, I didn't grow up that way, So, for example, my wife's from Mount Druitt. Her and her family grew up there. And I dare say she grew up on the right side of the tracks, whereas I didn't so much. So I've had a backlash of people saying, oh, this is not the Mount Druitt that I know. I'm like, well, that's okay for you, but it's quite authentic the way me and my friends grew up. So you're going to get both sides of the coin, right? So you're going to get people who are saying, this is not the Mount Druitt that I know. I remember the Mount Druitt with the waterworks, like yourself. But there is many different sides to an area, So it's really challenging being able to portray an area and not have backlash as well. And I get that. But when I start talking to people about my own experiences, they understand, oh, it's actually you grew up in the area, so you're telling a story from your experience. So a lot of people thinking that I'm outside of the area and I'm making a film about a certain area, because we had documentaries made and we've had media talk about certain areas, and they're only ever showing one side, So
are you telling me what I saw in A Current Affair in the 90s was not an accurate representation of Western Sydney?
They're only showing one side. I mean, there's so many different sides. People don't understand that the Blacktown City Council area is one of the biggest economic areas in Sydney. We have so much working class people there. Yes, we have the good, the bad, and the ugly, and that's what Streets of Colour shows. It shows a bit of everyone, the working class. You see the people who are not doing so well in the low socio and economic sort of areas, but you also have the people who have the nice houses, who grow up and work hard and don't go down those tracks either. So it's a bit of a mix in the film, and I tried to be very fair in the way I portrayed Western Sydney.
Ronnie S Riskalla is with us. Streets of Colour is making its way to Warrawong, the Gala Cinema, tomorrow night. Ronnie will be in town as well. And when you talk about growing up, you also grew up with a film camera in your hand?
Pretty much. I was the guy, in high school with the video camera that everyone said, get that camera out of my face. But now they thank me because I've documented all our history, So people are coming to me saying, hey, do you have footage of our Year 10 formal or our Year 12? Because I was the guy who filmed it all, I've got it all, So, I was lucky to grow up with a dad who was into technology and always had Betamax video cameras and all the old technology. And I inherited all that stuff. And as a kid, I would make short films with my friends with these bulky cameras that you had to carry this big machine around and connect it to a PowerPoint. And, as things got better in technology, I was able to get each camera and every generation of camera, and I've still got all that stuff now.
And what is happening in Western Sydney when it comes to filmmaking? Like, I think I did hear that there is infrastructure being built at the moment to actually be able to make films out there.
Oh, yeah. I think Russell Crowe's actually involved in that. We've got something called the Lake Studio being built out at Penrith along the Nepean River, and a new precinct called the Lakes, where they had some of the Olympics back in the day. So they're building a massive film studio there. I don't know when it's going to go ahead or if it's been greenlit 100% yet, but I believe that Russell Crowe's building one out Coffs Harbour. But then when he got wind of the one in the Lake Studio, I think he wants a part of that too. So that's gonna change Western Sydney, because there is a huge filmmaking hub at the moment. And we're all having to travel into the city, into the other areas to make films. This is going to be a game changer for us.
And not only showcasing the people and the stories of Western Sydney, but the music as well. The soundtrack looks like it's full of some of the great music from around that area. Some of which does end up, like the stories, on the news for all the wrong reason. But
yes,
you get
unfortunately.
but you get to showcase that as well.
Man, we've got some of the best music coming out of Western Sydney, especially Mountain Druid. You know, you got guys like Quick Cav and 1-4 and a guy called Micah Acosta, and there are so many to list that they're all on the soundtrack pretty much. Well, not all of them, but some of them. But yeah, we got so much great music coming out of Western Sydney that it's traveling across the world. You know, especially in the UK, and so we were lucky to able to showcase that as well.
You tested my demeanor, my temperament is meaner. Pray to interveners, cause I want my spirit cleaner.
Is Ruben Seven a local bloke?
No, he's not a local bloke, but he's from the States, but he's been here for he's been here back and forth about 15 times. So he comes and hangs out in Blacktown, and he's almost he's an honorary Aussie, if you like.
Well, Ronnie, so what happens? So this screening tomorrow night, Gala Cinema in Warrawong, 6:30. There'll be the Q&A afterwards as well. You can go to the Gala Cinema website for all of that information. And then what happens then? Is it heading to streaming services?
Well, we've actually got, just on the back of what you just said, at the Warrawong Cinema as well. We're coming out at. No, so we're not coming out, but we've got another screening happening at 7:30 on the Saturday night.
All right.
So they've given us another screening because it looks like it might be a little bit popular down there. So so I just wanted to plug that as well. But after that, we head to Melbourne for a couple of screenings at the Cinema Nova and the Village Cinema. And then we are at Parliament House. The film is going to be screened for Parliament to help change laws, actually, for anti-racism laws and anti-Nazi laws and symbolism and all sorts of stuff. So it's quite exciting that a film that we made could make changes to law.
This is showing that kid annoying people at high school with the Betamax, let them film. You never know where they'll end up. That's excellent.
Yeah, exactly. And I've still got my Betamax player after 45 years.
All right, Streets of Colour, tomorrow night and Saturday night at the Gala Cinema in Warrawong. Check the website for details. Great to meet you, Ronnie. Thanks for talking to ABC Illawarra.
Lindsay, thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Son, you control your life, son.
You've already missed 2 years. You're never going to get that back.
Get in your work box.
That's my fault.
It's not your fault.
This is Lindsay McDougall on ABC Illawarra.